My name is Frederick Priest. I live in the Southside NCO, and the purpose of this video is just briefly describe for you the background on the recommendations to remove parking that will be considered, for which there is a public meeting in 2 days, Monday night, 27th at the Bush Room, excuse me, the Bush Room at City Hall. In that meeting, staff is seeking your input on those recommendations, and you've received an email describing that to some degree. This is just a bit more detail. The purpose of removing the parking is to improve the safety of some of our streets. It's precipitated by a change in ordinance that City Council passed recently, in which they codified what street widths should have what parking. So, for example, if you have a 27-foot, less than 27-foot wide street, the standard is to have no parking. So we've simply gone through the Southside NCO area and I measured the street widths and identified those that should not have the parking they currently do based on those new guidelines. This is the process that the city established, and where we are in this process, since we submitted these recommended changes, where we are in the process is that staff has been now holding this public meeting. They'll consider that feedback, and mainly what they want to know Monday night is this something that the residents want? Or are there concerns with it that they might mitigate? Or do you have concerns maybe with other areas of the NCO that we have not listed? We're only looking at street width and these guidelines that have been established that are shown down here. You may have other motives, other incentives or concerns that you want to visit with them about as well. So this is a fairly informal meeting Monday. You walk in, you visit with staff. They'll ask you probably some leading questions. They'll probably not try to take a stance on any of these because this is just an input phase. It's probably easier to look at a map than to go through all of that. But before we do that, I wanted to make the point that this is not to limit occupancy in any of the houses, and it actually won't. We've looked at how much parking can the owners add to their lot without the amount of impervious coverage exceeding what's allowed, which is 55% of the total lot area. And virtually all of the houses, except two, can accommodate the number of people that live there on the lot without having any street parking. And that was a pretty important analysis. We actually did this for the entire city, and the same is true just about everywhere. The two lots, one of them belonged to my wife and I, and you restricted our property to two unrelated, so that's not going to be a problem. The intent is not to restrict occupancy, though, with parking. The safety guidelines that were established, when you look at Oakwood, it is already within those guidelines. Most of the streets are curved, 27-foot streets wide, and they can have parking on one side, and that's what they do have. The one street that is more narrow than that is Upper Suffolk, and of course, parking has removed from both sides. So Oakwood has kind of been through this process, or the city has already. There are a few of these asphalt lanes here that are below 27 feet. Virtually no one ever parks there regardless, but even removing those then from the Oakwood side for parking is not going to have much effect on Oakwood. Most of the effect is over on the College Park side, on the western edge of the NCO. All the red streets here are recommended, and you may want to take this map and drive around over there and just look at those streets and develop your own opinions about parking them. We did recommend Fairview, which is a very wide curved street. the point we made there was that we're planning future bike lanes there. Let's just go ahead and do that now. Fairview is so densely traveled and dangerous for e-boarders, bicycles, and pedestrians that we need to try to just simply accelerate that. When you put the bike lanes in, then they'll need to take parking up one side. The rest of these, though, really look more like this. They're just an asphalt lane. And the issue with them being too narrow is that if you park on the lane fully with all the tires on the asphalt, then you really become a one-lane street. And e-boarders, bicycles, pedestrians have to go out into the oncoming traffic in order to go around Park 2. There's not enough room. There's also a problem in that you know that as a driver, and you instinctively try to pull off to make more room, and you end up creating a rut and tearing up the yards. And of course, over time, you keep moving further and further over to get beyond the rut, and then you end up with vehicles actually parked in the yards in all kinds of various ways. So there is fundamentally a safety reason, and if you live on the side where we do, you can see near misses. If you have enough near misses, you're going to have a bad event, and you see them all the time coming in and out of these parked vehicles. So that's the incentive, primary incentive for most of the parking we recommend removal. In addition to that, we're really succeeding in the NCO and have succeeded in establishing a very positive market identity. We have momentum. We're continuing to renew and renovate across the neighborhood. We've done that by actually taking things that were limiting us and addressing them one layer at a time. And we need to continue to do that. It's not what's wrong with the neighborhood, it's what limits it now from being better. And I view this as just another layer of change that's needed to be safe, because this is where students come. And we serve the area. The safety of our streets is so much more important than almost any other neighborhood because of the density we're surrounded by, and the students have nowhere to go but here. They certainly cannot walk the streets anywhere else, not with it. And they can't bike there, and they can't jog there, and this is the only safe enclave to be in. And you know that, and you see that by the volume of students in your neighborhoods, and residents. So, in terms of continuing the progress, we need to limit the amount of damage we're doing to lawns and parking, and just the lack of planned responses to that, control of parking in yards and that sort of thing. But just in terms of safety, these narrow streets don't meet the city guidelines, and we're recommending that they be the parking in. Hope you can come Monday night. You may have other concerns, and hope and that and that's what the city wants to hear from you. Do you support? Do you not support? And it's important that they hear that if we're going to continue to build these layers to keep our neighborhood moving forward. Thank you, and again, I hope to see you Monday night.